look, you're going to call me. Some people are going to listen to this and they're going to say, Joe, you're soft. We're in a soft society. They're millionaires. They're professional athletes. Blah, 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 blah. I hear you. You're not wrong. I do believe we've gone overboard in society. Just sports culture in general. Look, I'm all for critiquing performances and things like that. I just think we've gotten to a point in sports culture when I see little clips all over online. Everybody piles on and bullies everyone. And what ends up happening is that everyone's got to be the first to continue to stab the carcass. It's already dead. It's already been picked apart. There is no meat left on the bone. And where I'm going at is with someone like the poor guy Trey Lance right now. And look, poor guy, I say relative, right? I mean, he's doing fine. He's a young man. He's got his health. He's got, the rest of his life ahead of him. Who knows what his NFL career ends up, becoming. I feel like I've seen this play out with James Wiseman, Jordan Poole, Trey Lance, and it's not just the Bay Area. This happens in other markets as well. I'm sure there's an element of Zach Wilson or whatever. It's one thing when we analyze and critique performances, right? And when guys don't meet our expectations, we call it out. That's fair. That's all fair. I just feel like the way we talk about these guys, not everyone, some people, it just feels like to me, we hit a level of inhumane talking about these things nationally, and everyone has to go above and beyond to get that audio clip to be funny or to pile on, and it's just there's this bullying sports culture. I'm not saying that we can't critique players. What I'm saying is that can we at least have a slice of humane dignity and respect for these individuals and their families? You can't bring up their families. You just can't.
What you're talking about here is Michael Lombardi on his podcast, the GM Shuffle podcast. Michael Lombardi and Femi. I'm going to say it is Abfefe, Abefefe, Abefefe. Not sure. We'll just call him Femi.
Okay.
Here's what you're talking about. Michael Lombardi on Trey Lance.
As you go down this road with Lance, it just becomes harder and harder and harder. And you could show all the clips of him moving and all that stuff. At the end of the day, when his mama lifted him from the crib, he just didn't have that quarterback instinct. He is not going to be the backup quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but there's no chance. There is no chance based on the evidence that I've seen and based on what I've heard.
Michael, I asked you this before we ended the Lombardi line yesterday on VSiN. I think that he might be competing to stay on the 53-man roster. Like, is that where we at with Trey Lance right now? Like, are these reps looking for him to be able to say, can he stay on this roster and be a viable 49er?
Well, I think you got to look at this, right? Like, that once you reach a conclusion on a player, okay, once you really have a handle on who the player is, then you've got to make some decisions.
All right, so the mama didn't need to be involved in that. That's the biggest problem I have. You don't need to say, hey, when your mama lifted you out the crib, you didn't have a quarterback instinct. We could say the same thing about Michael Lombardi. Hey, Mike, when your mama lifted you out the crib, you didn't have a GM instinct. That's not what we do. If you want to assess the quarterback situation, let's assess the quarterback situation. Look, man, I'm a black man. I want Trey Lance to thrive just off the strength of that. But even me, I gave an honest assessment of what I saw from Trey Lance on Sunday. I was very disappointed. He was hesitant. He was indecisive. He looked slow. He looked stiff. You know what I've been getting the last 24 hours?
What's that?
In DMs. Boy, you tore the company line. The boss man made you say that. The boss man made you have that opinion.
What do you mean?
The boss man made you switch up on Trey Lance. The boss man made you say these things. The boss man, oh, man, you're slipper Purdy now. Who's paying you to slip? This is what sports has become irrational.
Yeah.
You can't even have an honest take on anything anymore. My honest take was Sunday when I came in here on Monday, Trey Lance doesn't have a lot of time here. He's got to take advantage of every rep. And when I heard people complaining about, they didn't run the ball enough in the preseason game. All you got to do is clip Aaron Rodgers and Hard Knocks saying, just pass the ball. It's preseason. When I go to a preseason game, my entire life, whether I watch it or I go to the game, I want to see a quarterback throw. All right, we got a young hotshot. Let me see him drop back and throw. Let me see his footwork. Let me see his arm strength. We got to watch Trey Lance throw the ball. And JT O'Sullivan in the quarterback school basically highlighted what I saw on Sunday. Indecisive, slow to process, stiff. Now, if we keep it football, it's all fair. But some of our fans, and a lot of fans these days, even some media members, if you have any type of honest assessment on any quarterback, whether it's Jimmy, Trey, Brock, Aaron, Zach Wilson, doesn't matter. Honest assessments get destroyed these days. People can't handle the truth. They just want us to say what they want to hear.
Well, and if that's how you feel, that doesn't mean that I have to agree with you. Like, I think the one beauty of our show is how many times do we disagree?
Damn near 70% of the time.
And you know why? Because we truly believe those things. And it's not like First Take. And First Take is different. And I think that a lot of the fans think things are fake. You're doing it for clicks. And you're doing it.
None of that.
Okay, for example, I don't like the way the Giants play baseball a lot of the nights because that's the way I grew up playing baseball, and it goes against my baseball principles. And so when I call those things out, it's not me trying to generate fake outrage. It's how I feel. When I saw that Alex Smith play football and everybody was, saying, oh, Alex is this and Alex is that, I was always like, no, Alex isn't that good. But here's where I draw the line. But you are doing analysis work. You're breaking it down. Here's where, and I'm being 100% honest here with you. Like, easy for me to say as the white guy talking, but I see it through a different prism now that I do this for a living. We treat these young athletes horribly. Not everyone, but the way we talk about some of them at times.
It feels like most of them are black.
Yes.
Feels like most of them, let's just keep it a buck.
I'm going to be real with you. Like just straight up. Like I watched that video from Michael Lombardi, and it was hard to not tear up on that. And you can say, Joe, you're being soft. I'm saying, no, I'm not being soft, because if someone said that about Michael Lombardi's kid, I don't even know how old his kids are, or if he even has kids. Like, that's out of bounds to me. And when his mama picked him up in the crib, what are we doing? Like, and that's my bigger look. You want to say the kid can't play in the NFL, dude? That's totally fair.
Well.
But here's the problem that I have with everybody crushing Trey Lance. He just might not be good.
He might not be
period.
good. He might not be the guy.
Expectations through the roof. He might not ever live up to them. But you know what? And I'm not trying to take solace in this. I see a guy who cares. And I get that. So to me, it's not about him not putting in the work. He just might not be good enough. Well, and then I watch this doc as I contrast that with what Johnny Manziel did last week in this doc. He
got inducted into the Texas A&M Hall of Fame.
And my jaw's dropped. And I'm saying to myself, we are talking about Trey Lance like he's done something to outside people, like he's not putting in the work on the iPad, like he doesn't care.
But I love Eric Crocker. He just
might not be good enough.
He might not be good enough. I love Eric Crocker's tweet last week where he's like, it's crazy that Johnny Manziel still has his Heisman and Reggie Bush doesn't. Johnny Manziel was doing the most in college. And who knows? Now, they said, well, it happened after his Heisman year. We have no idea what happened during his Heisman year. You don't think he was taking a couple $500 envelopes? You don't think he had a couple $1,000 handshakes down at Texas A&M, especially after beating Alabama? Like, let's be real here. So the hypocrisy in that alone, like Johnny Manziel, I watched that documentary. I was like, this sucks. But this guy's a terrible. Like, this sucks. He didn't care. Trey Lance at least studies. He practices. He just may not be good.
But why do we do and I'm using these guys as examples because they're the local examples. Why do we do this with? And I'm not saying everyone, but Wiseman, Poole, Trey Lance. I'm seeing a similar theme, which is this inhumane way to talk about their games as if they're lesser than humans. And that's the part that bugs me. You want to say James Wiseman doesn't have good feel for defense. I'm here for that breakdown. Let's talk about it. He doesn't have great basketball hands. I don't know about him understanding, 2 passes ahead where he should move his body defensively. He just doesn't have those instincts right now in terms of that basketball feel. Like, they'll have that breakdown. To say that he's soft and he's this, he's that, that's where I draw the line. I'm like, why do we have to?
Here's another thing.
But why do we have to crush?
I don't know. I don't know why you do this. I don't do it.
I'm not saying
I don't know
it's you.
I don't know why people do it.
But the internet, I know, is ruthless,
but it's
and
not
I don't expect.
It's not just the internet. It's individuals. So Michael Lombardi also said this back in 2011. This is very interesting. He said this back in 2011. Blaine Gabbert, Cam Newton draft. A lot of people were hyping up Blaine Gabbert. Cam Newton just won the national championship and the Heisman Trophy. Here's what Michael Lombardi said back then. What worries me about Cam Newton is he a person who is going to work hard? Will he be dedicated? Is the money going to spoil him? Will he take coaching? What kind of leader will he be? We came to find out that Cam Newton does work hard. Came to find out that Cam Newton does care. All you got to do is look at post-Super Bowl where everybody was crushing him for not wanting to talk. Why didn't he want to talk about the Super Bowl loss? Because he freaking cares.
Is he the best
hurt.
Panther ever?
I would think so.
Short
I would
list.
think so.
It's a short list.
Did he look dedicated to the craft?
Yeah.
I mean,
Belichick picked him up.
Did Buddy spoil him? Dude was making money at Auburn. He's fine.
Well, he is who he was.
He is who he is.
Yeah.
Didn't affect his play. Didn't affect his MVP season. So, you know what? Michael Lombardi is irrelevant to me. The comment was a little off base, and it's taken away the focus of what Trey Lance is on the football field. If you want to say he's not good, you can say he's not good. We don't need to cross that line. We don't need to cross that line. We do that way too much in sports media. Way too much. And it's kind of sickening.
It is.
And the coverage of Trey Lance has been a little sickening. It is.
Well, it feels like, just to my interpretation, look, like the guy's at his lowest point. All right? It's pretty obvious. We can all see it. Point. He's hanging on by a thread. It's like the tooth of a 6-year-old. You just got to like give it a little tiny poop, right, and the thing's going to fall out. Like his career with the Niners is hanging on by a thread. We get it. Why do we have to bully? Like I saw a LaShawn McCoy thing. He can't play in the NFL. He cannot play in the NFL. It's like, all right, maybe that's the case. We get it. Can we come up with something a little more nuanced than that? How about this?
But no, he did though. He did. They broke it down, and I thought it was. I watched a little bit more of that. Just kind of found it on my screen. Look, he said at the end, if there was a G League, maybe Trey Lance could play that. Trey Lance does need a G League. Well, I would not feel comfortable starting Trey Lance at quarterback right now for my football team. That's
totally fair.
He needs a lot.
But Bonte, if I told you that Andy Reid somehow got himself Trey Lance, for let's say he got cut or whatever, and Andy Reid picked him up, I think that would be a project for Andy Reid worth experimenting with on the side behind Mahomes.
Maybe.
We'd have nothing to lose.
Maybe.
And I bet he'd get something out of him.
Maybe.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. Maybe not. But Trey Lance said the lack of reps is killing him right now. And he can't. Listen, Shanahan has a job to do. I'll defend Shanahan to this sense. He's got to get this football team ready for the regular season. And I identified, whether or not you agree, whether or not anybody agrees, that Brock Purdy's our guy. Brock Purdy's our guy. So we'll assess Brock Purdy throughout the season. We'll critique him. We won't crush him. I'm not going to bash him. I will critique him based on this game on Sunday the same way I do Trey Lance, the same way I do with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't make it personal whatsoever with these athletes, and nor should anybody. And that's the whole point of this. Why do we make it personal? Like the guy Scott Zolak, when Brock Purdy was balling, Trey Lance in trouble in all caps, and it was like they were celebrating that. Why? You don't even know the kid. Did the kid do something to these guys' kids? Did Trey Lance do something to somebody out there? I don't know. Well, but here's what I'll keep saying. Like, everybody wants to. You can't have it both ways. You can't tell me that Kyle Shanahan is an evil genius who is one of the smartest guys ever, and then crush people for being excited about Trey Lance when he was the guy who picked him. We all were wrong. Right. You and me were wrong in terms of assessing him and seeing him, and what we saw, it hasn't played out. They were wrong in moving all of what they did to go get him. They took a huge swing, and you know what's crazy? I think I'd take the exact same swing. Now, I don't know. Maybe they take that swing for Mac Jones next time. Maybe they take that swing for Justin Fields if they could have a redo. Maybe they sit pat. I don't know. But Kyle Shanahan, who I think knows his stuff, saw something in him, and it just hasn't materialized. I'm wrong all the time.
We all are.
We're all wrong. All right.
I mean, Bill Walsh had how many whiffs in the draft?
He had a lot of whiffs. Everybody has whiffs. Belichick has whiffs, and he's probably the best coach we've ever seen on an NFL sideline. So shout out to you.